Ice on the roofs. Very frosty day. Can you see the sparkles? Sparkly ice. There's one. And there's one. Little sods. Whoop. It's a bit silly that their escape route is to go right over the top of me. I'm Charlotte and this is Time Mama Tries to Read. So I've probably clubbed together some clips before I've started talking, and I have explained that I will be keeping the fan heater on. Sorry, I thought I saw a squirrel again. You've also probably just seen me disturbing the squirrels who then ran directly at me. Which I was sort of expecting, because I don't credit them with that much intelligence. I don't think they've realised yet, but there are squirrel-proof bird feeders on the way, and I don't know how effective they're going to be. I've heard mixed reviews from various people, but I've got to give it a go. But I'm not going to leave them starve, because I can't do that. I will probably put the existing peanut feeder like by my shed somewhere out the back there, and then I'll top it up every few days, because I can't see how 2 squirrels need more than like half a feeder of nuts every few days, rather than what they're getting at the minute, which is an entire feeder in 2 hours. So yeah, that's what I'm going to compromise. I can't leave animals die no matter what they are. So I've been known to roll fat balls towards places where I know there are rats, just purely because we've done things to like stop rats in other houses we've lived in and in farms I've lived in, and then I felt guilty. So I've given them a gift of a fat ball. So yeah, I won't be leaving them to starve. I've got some Christmas books. I've got a Christmassy jumper. I've got unicorn earrings with a Santa hat, which I had last year. And I've got my lights, which are failing because it's so cold in here. I think this is electric, and I think it's suffering a little bit. But anyway, it is December. I'm not going to do Vlogmas, but I might do more vloggy things. I'm determined to do more videos this month. So let's just dive in. I'm going to start with the type of book I've seen all over BookTube and Bookstagram in the last sort of month or two, and that's from this British Library Crime Classic series. And the British Library, fair dues to them, they've nailed it with these, haven't they? The covers are awesome. There's something so nostalgic about them. And I think the one I read last year, which I don't know if they list them in the beginning of this. I don't think they do. The one I read last year, oh, it's on the back, that's so helpful. Mystery in White, A Christmas Crime Story. I really loved it, and I'm actually massively regretting giving it away, because I thought, well, I'm never going to read that again. But actually, now Christmas has come round, it was just so snowy that I really want to read it again, which is weird. And I read that with Kate Howe, and she said, from a perspective of somebody who reads a lot of mysteries, it wasn't that good. But because I don't know that, because I don't really read that many mysteries, I really enjoyed it. So this one is The Santa Claus Murder by Mavis, Doriel. And this, I tried to find something where there were people in a big house, because I feel like that's where you want to be at Christmas. And I think we've nailed it. So they're all gathering at their country residence in Flaxmere, and where Sir Osmond Melbury, the family patriarch, is discovered by a guest dressed as Santa Claus with a bullet in his head on Christmas Day. The festivities are plunged into chaos. I mean, what is more festive than a bullet in the head on Christmas Day? I can't think of anything. So it's weird that murder and Christmas go together, but they do. And actually I was talking to Sian of Pastory Time, and she was saying how she was reading, she was wanting to read some Christmas romances, and Sainsbury's at the minute is full of Christmas romances. You can't move for them. And I just like, do you know what, I just think death is a little bit more Christmassy. So I've gone with that. I've also gone, you'll be pleased to hear, literary, and The Winter Book by Tove. Is it Tove or Tove? I think it might be Tove. I feel like I got this out of the library last year. It could have been Ali Smith's The Winter. Is hers called The Winter? No, it's called Winter, isn't it? I got something similar to this last year and I didn't get round to it. I had a really bad reading month in December last year. So, and I think it's because we had loads of colds. So I don't know how this month's going to go. But this, I've really wanted to read more of Tove Jansson. I've only ever read the Moomins that she did for children. I read them through sort of like my early sort of 11, 12-year-old, that kind of mark. And I love them. And there's a biography out about her at the minute, I think. And I've asked for that for Christmas. And there's her letters. She just seems to be somebody who really captured how it is to enjoy and live life. And I feel like that is something I absolutely need to learn from. So the Winter book is a collection of her stories, drawn from youth and older age and spanning most of the 20th century. This newly translated selection provides a thrilling showcase of the great Finnish writer's prose, scattered with insights and home truths. I think it's going to be nice and seasonal and kind of match. I read Laurie Lee last year, and I read a portion of his book where there's other seasons in there, which I said I'd read throughout the year, and I didn't. 2020 is going to change that. And that was really, it was all about sort of childhood winters, childhood Christmases, traditions. I'm hoping this is going to be in the same ballpark. Following the mystery thing, I got P.D. James's The Mistletoe Murder and Other Stories. I should say that I did get these off of, I don't think, it might have been Wordery. It was somewhere like that. It was a discount book place, which is going against my ethos, and I actually feel, is Wordery Amazon owned? I think it is. So it's totally unethical purchases, and I'm putting that out there because I'm not perfect. And what I kind of did was, in my last sort of book video, no, I think it was on Instagram, I talked about how I did a huge chunk of my Christmas shopping on the high street for books, and I spent a fair wodge of money, and then I kind of felt almost that it was okay to get some of the other stuff elsewhere in order to spread the cost. So I don't know how you feel about that. Let me know what you do when it comes to sort of settling your conscience. None of these books have come from Amazon, but I have shopped on Amazon for other things this year, so I'm definitely not perfect. But yeah, we'll talk about all that when it comes to my end of year wrap up and new year, resolutions, because they went so well this year. So The Mistletoe Murder and Other Stories. I've not read any P.D. James, but I kind of feel like she's more of a literary writer in the crime spectrum. Not that I'm saying that crime is, like, I've made some sort of slanderous remarks about crime in the past, and I'm trying so hard to fight the urge to make them now, because they're kind of inbuilt. When you work in a bookshop, a lot of times there's kind of like a snobbery in the ones I've worked in. Not all the time, sometimes. And yeah, I don't know, crime sometimes can be it's got to be trashy, because some of them are just like, you read it on the train and it only takes you a few hours and then you chuck it, they're not meant to live with you, but some of them are slightly more in depth, and I feel like P.D. James will be, I don't know. So she's the queen of crime, and she wrote special short stories for Christmas, and 4 of the best have been drawn from the archives and published here. So the 4 stories are A Mistletoe Murder, A Very Commonplace Murder, The Boxdale Inheritance, and The 12 Clues of Christmas. I am really looking forward to that. Okay, so I'm coming round to I think there's so many subgenres within crimes. There's like cozy crime and there's mysteries, and I definitely do not know the difference, so educate me if you will. And then coming up to the new year, I've got The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. This is one that I've seen in the supermarket a lot, and then when I was in Waterstones, the manager of Waterstones sort of said, have you got this? And I was making Stephen cry with how much I'd already spent, so I didn't take it in. Usually I would like to take the book from where it's been recommended, but in this instance I didn't. And he said, have you read this? And I said, I don't know, I've been looking at it, but is it good or is it trashy? And he was like, well, actually it's quite good. So some of the reviews seem to be from places where I would trust that review, and some of them are less so. But the premise is, in a remote hunting lodge or some sort of seasonal setting deep in the Scottish wilderness, old friends gather for New Year. The beautiful one, the golden couple, the volatile one, the new parents, the quiet one, the city boy, the outsider, the victim. Not an accident, a murder among friends. So we shall see. I think that might be quite a nice end of year, New Year read. People have been saying it's unputdownable, but it proves that the country house murder formula can still work brilliantly. An update on the classic country house murder mystery. Yeah, we'll give that a go. So it's a very short list of books because I'm not massively ambitious for December. I'm actually still reading another book, If Women Rose Rooted, which I'll show you in upcoming vlog videos. I'm planning on doing 4 videos over December, 1 for each week. Fingers crossed. Yeah. Then at the end of the year I'll be doing my wrap up, and I wanted to ask you some questions. So I'm going to do a kind of top 10. I think I'm going to do a top 10 fiction and a top 10 non-fiction, and then announce, you know, like you've all been waiting, for what my reads of the year have been. But I'm also going to do a statistics kind of breakdown. Are you interested? Like, I love statistics videos, but I'm never really sure what people want to know. So I was kind of planning on talking about what percentage of my shelves I've read. Last year it was 25% of my shelves were read. I'm fairly certain the figure has gone down because of the amount of books that I've unhauled, that I've read, because I was thinking, come on, seriously, are you ever going to read that again? And also the new books that have come in. I'm pretty sure the figure's going to be devastatingly low. I'm also going to do a whole new recount of the books I own, and because I am totally like late to the party with Goodreads, I have uploaded some of my shelves on Goodreads, but I'm nowhere near uploading all of them, so it will all be done by hand. I will be annoyingly climbing on the backs of sofas and tippy-toeing on the backs of Idris's little chair that he uses to try and count all the top shelf books, and once I've counted everything I'll then go through and count again the ones I've read. So it's going to be a labour of love, but I do actually find it very fun to do. And I was talking with Doris just this morning about the kind of element of keeping on top of the ones you've read and the ones you haven't read, and where do they all go, and that we, even though we kind of act like it's bothering us, and it is quite frustrating, it's actually quite fun being you know, it's not a disaster, it's first world problems, and we both know that, and we actually, there's an element of enjoying it, you know. It is, you wouldn't collect books if you didn't enjoy it. So I'm going to do a video like that, and let me know if there's anything else you want to read, want to read, and I'll be breaking it down, like how many books this year I've read that have been fiction, non-fiction, maybe even breaking that down again, how many of those were written by men and women, because I've got a real distinct impression that I've read a lot of female fiction, but most of my non-fiction has been male, which is very telling. So little things like that. If there's anything that you've seen in other people's videos that you would like to know about from my reading habits, or if there's anything that you don't think anyone's covering and you just want to know, then let me know in the comments below, and then I can prepare for when I do my end of year one. Okay, right. I'm done now. I'm going to go and run across the garden because it's that freezing, and get a cup of tea. Okay, I will speak to you soon.